Okay, everyone. Hello. My name is Vanessa Simpson, your host of the Pain to Purpose podcast. This is episode 13, and today we have Joe Petroski.
Sure.
Petroski. Me and names are just so interesting. Petroski. That's
There you
it.
go. All right.
Petroski. So Joe is a master energy healer. He has been teaching and doing this rodeo for quite some time and has had many experiences. We connected on Facebook and just from there, I was like, oh, another healer. We have to connect, because now just with where we're at right now in this world, it's really about collaboration. We need to connect and collaborate and bring our powers together in the powers of love. So Joe, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun talking with you.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, Joe. So I remember when you told me your incredible journey, your story. So I'd love for you to express to us just what brought you into this healer's path.
Well, I almost died. So, I was working with doctors for over 6.5 years. And before that time, I had my own home maintenance business. And so I would fix anything in your house. But then I became sicker and sicker and was working with the doctors. And towards the end, I was on oxygen for almost 2 years. And they they came to me and they said, "Hey, Joe, there's one more treatment that we can do." And one of the doctors that I was working with said that if it doesn't work, it will kill you. And the other one said that if it doesn't work, it will hasten your death. And so they told me to go home and get prepared to die. And I don't know how anybody does that, especially when you're young. And so I kept on trying everything under the sun. I tried Reiki, shamanic healing, Qigong, Nate, Bioset, you name it, I tried it, and nothing helped. Things gave me bits and pieces, but nothing got me healthy until I met this 35th generation Shaolin. And I went to him and his students. And after the second hour session, I no longer needed the oxygen. And after the third, I was completely healthy. And he looked at me and he says, "Well, you can do this too." And I looked at him like, like, okay. I grew up as vanilla as could be. And, there was no, like, what do you mean I can do this? But when I looked at him with all the doubt that I could muster. It's like, what do you mean? And he never said a word, but with his eyes, he said, "Yes, you can." And so I trained with him solid, and he set me up with a mentor, and I trained with him for over 3.5 years. And I would get together with my mentor at least 3 times a week and practice in person, practice in groups. And I practiced on anybody that I could get around, animals, people. And I started the training and doing the work in 2001. In 2003, he gave me the master's certification. And during that time, I also sat with Native Americans. And Native Americans, that experience was really, really profound because they helped me be able to see, feel, and hear energy in everything. And because the Shaolin was real rudimentary and there was a lot of stuff about, kinesiology and different things. But when I sat with the natives, feeling that energy in everything, that's when the healing gift really took off. And after 5.5 years of training in energy work, my original teacher says, "Hey, Joe, you need to go teach what you're doing because you're doing differently than I taught." And so in 2006, he wished me the very best and sent me on my way. And so I've been doing the work. And then my clients kept on asking me to coach them, and I didn't feel qualified. But in 2012, I'd seen the movie The Cure Is. And when I saw the movie The Cure Is, it talked about every single thing that I'd been talking about in my practice for years. And so I wrote feverishly for 10 pages the first time I saw it, 8 pages the second time, and 2 pages the third. And then I started to coach. And it's just gone and it's blossomed from there. And I love the work. I love to be able to help people. I love it when when there's no hope, when it's the hopeless causes. That's the kind of stuff that I really love. There's nowhere but up. And it's pretty cool and it's pretty amazing. It's I feel blessed and gifted to be able to do this.
Wow, wow, yeah, and then helping others find that within themselves to be able to perform miracles. So I do have to ask, you've been mentioning you've I've just heard it within your voice. It was sort of emphasize the work. So what do you feel like as a healer the work is?
The work for me is really getting out of the way. I make the commitment to every time I see somebody, every time I work with somebody, to see only what I need to see, hear only what I need to hear, and feel only what I need to feel, and then only say the words that the client needs to hear. And so what my commitment is to connect creator spirit, source, and just listen. And I put all of my thoughts, all of my feelings there in the trunk. What I think, what I feel, what I believe is it's none of my business when I'm trying to help somebody. And so when I do that, that's when spirit creator comes through. That's when I hear words. I've spoken languages that I don't know. I've used medical terminology when I'm working with doctors that I don't know. And when I work with people, very often somebody that's passed away will come and will use words that I would never use. They would show me pictures that I would never know. And so as long as I make that commitment to, and when I started this work, it really freaked me out because I'm sitting there and I'm doing stuff that other people couldn't do and doctors couldn't do. It just really freaked me out. So I went to my minister one day and I said, "Hey man, I need to talk to you. I'm doing this stuff and it just is really freaking me." He says, "Okay, well come on Monday and we'll have an appointment." So I went to him and he says, "Hey," he says, "before we talk about what you want to talk about," he says, "could you read something, for me? And then I'll be able to concentrate on what you want." And I'm sitting there, it's like, okay, I'm coming here, I'm paying you, and you're not going to be able to concentrate. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So he gave me the Bible and it was John 14:12. And in there, Jesus was saying that if you believe like I do, these things and greater than these things you will do. And then I look up and I see the minister and he's got his hands back like this and he's got his feet on the desk and he said, "Anything else you want to talk about?" And and what I interpret that to be is Jesus was completely no judgment and just simple love. And so if I come to you, if I come to the client and I have no judgments, no prejudices, no, things like that. If I really clear my mind, if I really clear my soul and I just go to hear, see and feel, and then come with basic love, then everything happens. And it's, as long as we can do that, it's cool and easy. And it takes a lot of practice to get to that point. It takes a lot of practice to get to the point now, okay, now is that me thinking or is that what's really coming? And having that patience and having that faith to be able to be there and hold space for the client. But I like
Right.
it, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much. And so, how did you start to realize what was you, and then what was the source that was coming through you? How were you able to work through that distinction? Because I know, for any of the healers or the rising healers that could be watching this, I know that's been a big question that I've been asked as well.
And that's where really having faith and the patience. Because, like I said, when I was learning from the Shaolin master, he would have us do kinesiology. And so we would have to put our, hand on somebody, and see if it was either weak or strong. Well, I was sitting there and it's like, well, it's weak. And my teacher would say, well, see if it's weak. I'm like, it's weak. And they're like, how do you know? And I can just feel it. And so sure enough, we would clear and everything like that. They would, test again. And sure enough, the person was weak. And so when I really it took a lot. It really took a lot for me because originally I had charts and graphs. And I would look on the charts, I would look on the graphs, and I would test things. And my mentor one day came, and I was working on somebody, and he came by and he stole my charts and graphs. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do now? And he looked at me and he says, pretend you know what you know. And I'm just like, you know, and it was interesting because at that point, then I shut my eyes and I'm sitting there and everything like that. And he comes by and you know, my mentor, you got to know, he was, if you've ever seen the Mr. Clean ad, you know, where the guy's, you know, kind of bald and he's got the white t-shirt and the white pants and he's all muscles. Well, my mentor was that, except he had, you know, real short spiked hair, blonde hair, and he was muscles upon muscles. He was a 6th-degree black belt in 2 different disciplines, and he always wore black. And he comes up and he smacks me upside the shoulder, and he says, "Hey," he says, "the Ray Charles routine is not going to work. Open up your eyes." And so, and Ray Charles is a singer that I knew, and your parents would probably know. And he was blind, and so I opened up my eyes, and you know, and I worked on this person, and it was really interesting because what had happened is this woman came in and she had really, really bad pain. And long story short, within about 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes, she was able to bend, twist, touch the floor, everything like that. And all of her friends happened to be in the practice place that we were at, and they were all crying. And I'm just looking, and my mentor comes by and he says, "Tell them." And it's like, okay, what's all going on? Why is everybody crying? And what is she going to tell me? Well, my mentor was the one that saved my life. He was the one that worked on me 2 of those times. He got me off the oxygen and he got me completely healthy. And the woman in front of me, she had been in a really severe car accident, and the University of Minnesota wanted to fuse 2 vertebrae in her neck and 2 vertebrae in her back. And she had been in perpetual pain for 7 years. And so that woman went to my mentor 3 times. And on the 3rd time, it came clear to both of them that my mentor wasn't going to be the one to help her. And so they went into prayer and meditation. And when she was meditating, all of a sudden she goes, "You know who it is. You know who's going to help me." And she described me to an absolute T. And because I had recently gotten better, and so I was still very, very skinny, because when I was sick I was emaciated, and so I was still quite skinny, and I had really short black hair or dark hair. And she described me to an absolute T. And so she showed up, and so my teacher looked at me, and again, here's this muscle-bound dude and 6th-degree black belt in 2 different disciplines. And he looks at me and he says, "I just have one question." He says, "Does it feel that good to think that little of yourself?" And because here I am, this healer that could do really powerful, amazing things, and I still didn't believe in me. I still didn't, you know, I still had the self-esteem of a peanut, you know. And so he says, "Hey, you know, when are you going to realize that God's given you a gift? When are you going to realize that, and when are you going to own it?" And so it was really powerful, very, very powerful. And, you know, and it's been humbling because I have to be able to go to people and, like, you know, it's like you have to be able to tell them, hey, amazing, profound things can really happen with great healing, amazing things, miraculous things. And yet you still have to keep that, you know, gentle, you can't let your ego get in the way.
Humility. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and I have to pop out of that humility, because I have to be able to come out and say, yeah, this is me, you know, this is me, this is what I do. So.
Wow. How profound is all of that? Wow. Because I know that there's a lot of healers that I work with, that I've been training and, you know, belief in the self and confidence. And for me too, of course, they're a reflection of me. You know, and as I'm working with more and more people and just keep reaffirming, like, this is you can do this, you know. So what would you say is, you know, for those that are on the healer's path, like, what is What would you say is some of the key, like really important aspects or beliefs or ideas or just some wisdom, knowledge to the rising healers or already healers out there to enhance?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, the thing that I remind myself and I remind my students all the time is that you have to make that commitment to work for Creator. You work for Creator. You don't even work for the client. The client shows up and they say, maybe they say that their knee is the problem. Well, you're guided to work on their back or their neck, or you're guided to talk to them about, when they were 3 years old. Um, my commitment is that I work for Creator. I work for Spirit. And certainly, I'm receiving the check, I'm receiving the money from the client. And so I'm going to do my best, but to realize that that's where it is. And a lot of the healing things, we have to be able to start with a rudimentary kind of thing, to start to think and start to feel certain ways, because we're coming into something new. But what I tell people is, as soon as you learn and as soon as you feel, forget everything that you think you know, because people will come in and it's like, I have to do this procedure, I have to do this procedure, I have to do this atonement, I have to do that atonement. It's like, really? Is that what God's telling you right now? If that's what God's telling you right now, cool, keep at it, do that. But it's really quite possible that maybe you don't need to do that kind of attunement, or maybe you don't need to do the second step. Maybe you're already at the sixth step. And so I tell people, somehow really, really get in connection with Creator and really, really trust Creator and make that commitment. And when you make the commitment to serve Creator and really be there for Creator, source, then I think it's easier. But if we get all bungled up that I got to do this procedure, I got to do this thing, I got to do this, I got to do this, it's like, okay, that's when I see things getting messed up. That's when I see people taking on other people's shit. That's when I see people getting sick. And God forbid, the thing I've seen and I've cleaned up so many times for healers that carry their shit into a session. I can't even begin to tell you how many times. And it's just like, keep your shit out of there. I don't care if you had a broken bone too. I don't care if you got in a car accident also when you were 12 years old. Keep your stuff out of that. Keep it out, and and keep your judgments to yourself, because I've seen so many times when people come in and they make assumptions, and it's like, that's not right. That's not right. We can't make assumptions. We have to absolutely commit to being a channel. I love Fool's Crow. Fool's Crow by Russell Means is a fantastic book. And in that book, Fool's Crow is this really fantastic Native American healer. And he says, we are to be hollow bones. Creator's here, the hollow bone is here, and then there's the client. We're supposed to be that channel, and there's nothing, we don't touch that. We don't touch what Creator brings to the client. And that's my thing. And I've seen so many, healers come in there and they want to add their touch, or they want to add what they feel or what they say. And it's just like, oh shit, it's just like, this isn't your party. This isn't your show, don't do it. And I see people, and one of the biggest things that I do is, when I set out my prayer and intention, is to say only the words that the client needs to hear. Because when you're working with somebody, you might see that she was raped when she was 13. You might see that, she had incest when she was a kid. You might see that, as an adult, she cheated on her husband, but do those really pertain? Is that what we need to be able to do to be able to heal that person? And so if we can leave all that stuff alone and only pay attention to what we need to pay attention to, and then only say the words, it's fantastic. Because it's my belief that the gift that I've been given is I'm supposed to be the healer. I'm supposed to be the helper. I'm not supposed to convert anybody to any religion. I'm not supposed to make everybody meditate. I'm not supposed to make everybody eat a certain diet. I'm here to help people heal. And when I look at that, when people are healed, when they're healthy, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, they're going to be a whole lot closer to God. They're going to be a whole lot closer to Creator. So they're going to be a whole lot happier. Um, and they're going to be able to enjoy life, and everybody around them is going to be able to enjoy life. And I think that's what Creator wants for us, you know?
Mm, I love that. I love that so much. Wow. What do you feel like or how about this? So this is one of my favorite quotes. A healer does not heal you, a healer holds space for you to heal yourself.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like there's validity in that?
Oh yeah, and we hold that space, and it's um, we play a part certainly,
For
um,
sure.
but we have to be able to hold that space. And part of what it is you're holding that space, and I think that's the part where you keep it really sacred and you keep it special. I don't put any of my stuff, any of my beliefs in that space. But I might come in and ask you, hey, what happened to you when you were 13? What happened when you were 19? I might ask you that, but I'm still holding that space. I'm just being there in that participant. And it's also something, holding the space is vitally important. We have to be able to see somebody, and this is really tough sometimes, especially with the cute little kids. The cute little kid comes in and they got leukemia or they got cancer, and it's just like, you know, um, but I have to be able to hold that space and know that that kid can get healed. I can't get worked up, that their head's the size of a pumpkin, because of the cancer and the medication. Um, I have to be able to hold that space. And when I hold that space, it's like, well, is the person going to have physical healing? Is it going to be emotional healing? Is it going to be spiritual healing? What is it that's supposed to happen? And, for example, I'm working right now with this, couple. And I'm actually, I don't I always camouflage the stories. So there's no way you'd be able to say, okay, this is the couple that you're working on. I change things, and unless they told me you can use their name. But I'm working with this couple, and the guy is pretty damn sick, and they had said he's got like 3 months to live, and I was like bullshit, and I don't really just come out and swear, especially I could really tell that this guy was very, very refined, the way he showed up. He wanted to do Zoom, and I was looking at his clothes and I was like, damn, the suit and the tie, I was like, whoa. So, he was dressed, I'm guessing his tie was probably about, $300-400 just for the tie, the suit was probably a $3,000 suit. The guy looked pretty smashing. And so it was obvious that he was really, couth and well refined. And so I come out, and first thing I do is, within a minute or two, is swear. you know but I said bullshit, because that's what came. That's not what I was thinking. What I was thinking is like, oh, poor guy, but literally what came is like, hey, you know what, the doctor's not God. I said, so you matter, and what you think and what you feel is way different. And he says, well, I'm glad that you swore. He says, because I don't swear either, but he says, I knew the doctor was full of shit. And he says, I'm not going to die. And so we've worked now, and the guy's 5 years past his expiration date. It's pretty cool. Is he in perfect health? No. But it's interesting. What's happened is they had reconnected me after working with the cancer, and I'm working because his wife ended up catching some crazy disease too. And I'm working with him, and I'm actually doing more coaching than I am healing. But as I'm coaching them through the troubles in their relationship, the guy's, blood counts better. He's able to eat stuff. He's able to gain weight. And the woman is more relaxed. She doesn't have to be on the sedatives anymore, which is pretty cool. And her pain level's gone way down. And she's actually able to get up and walk and stuff like that. So my part would be that I got to heal him. I got to heal him. I got to heal him. But what was coming up is healing the relationship. And so I held space, and what ended up coming is relationship rather than, the physical. But as we heal the relationship, the physical is healing too. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and what a delicate balance too, because I do both the coaching and the healing, and it's interesting just how those two work together, but then they're both like still two um
Mm-hmm.
separate, but they correlate with each other as well, in helping like working through the mindset and having and asking them questions and working through you know, what's where they feel like they're at, and having them. I know I've just clients that I've worked with, like asking questions, and then they're like, oh, I've never thought of that. Yeah, let me think of that, and just opening up perspective, and then you are getting closer to source, and you're connecting with different aspects of yourself, and
Yeah.
you can realize a lot with the coaching added into the healing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's fun. And that's one of the things, when you ask what do healers need to do. Certainly when you're doing the kind of work, and especially now, I mean, whatever kind of illness. I've worked with people that have pretty massive illnesses, and you're sitting there, and there's been times where I'm working, and it's like, do you think you need to go to the hospital? And I was like, do you think you need to go? Because I'm sitting there and I'm working with them, and I'm freaking out. And I don't want their life on my, neck. And so, but if they say, no, I'm good, let's continue the healing, I'm like, okay. you know, and, yeah. And but it's also something where I've actually had to tell people, what I'll do is I say, hey, let me call you back in a couple minutes. And then I'll go into the prayer meditation. I'm like, you do need to go to the hospital. You need to go. And to be able to have that, because if they say no, I don't want to go, and I've had that happen where I say you need to go to the hospital. They say no, I don't want to go. Like, okay, if you don't want to go, I'm here. I'll work, and let's go to it. And being in that space and holding it, and that's something where you know, one of the I like Jesus. He's a cool dude, and when he was doing the healing, what he would do sometimes is he would work with somebody and says, "Okay, now don't go home. Go someplace else, and don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody that you were crippled and you couldn't walk. Just go out and live your life and be happy." He did that with a guy that was at the fountain, and the guy's like, "Well, how come?" It's like, "Well, if he goes back home, they're going to be doubters and things like that, and so he would probably lose the healing." And other times he goes to him and he says, "Hey, go home and tell everybody, celebrate it, tell everybody." And I'm open to that too, because there's times where I talk with people and it's like, "Hey, you know what? I know your husband's going to want to know what's going on in the healing session and everything like that, but just tell him you'll tell him in a few days." And it says in a few days he'll probably forget about it. He won't care because you're feeling fantastic. And because sometimes some really big serious stuff will come up, and sometimes nothing. I mean, I've had sessions where I don't say a thing. I don't say a thing, and I accept it's like, okay, what are you feeling? What do you notice? What are you feeling? What do you notice? That's what I say. Instead of saying, is your back better? Is your neck better? I just say, what do you feel and what do you notice? To let them think about it, because I don't want to give them any thoughts or anything. I want them to be able to say, oh, you know what, I feel better. And I want it to be, or they'll say, I don't feel any change, and I'm like, okay, cool. And being patient with that, because I've had it where I'm sitting there and it's like, okay, 45 minutes, 50 minutes into it, nothing, and I'm doing my work and everything seems to be going right, but no change. And then all of a sudden, bam, it just happens. Or, you work with them and it's just like, let's see what happens in the next couple of days. And then they wake up the next day, and the next day they're in no pain, but they go to bed that day and they're still in pain. And so that's something that's hard. Because when I was a contractor, you needed me to come in and fix something in your house. I could give you a ballpark about how long it was going to take, how much it was going to cost, the materials, and I'd get it done. With the healing, I just come in and I do my part. I set out my prayers, I set out my intentions, I let what happens, and then it's up to them and Creator. And that's something that's really important, really, really important. We're not the client. The client is the one that's responsible for the healing. And when I was sick, I was in a support group for people with chronic illness. And one of the things that they talked about is that healing isn't necessarily winning over a physical illness. Healing is coming to peace with yourself, coming to peace with your connection with Creator. And when you have the peace with yourself and the peace with Creator, that's healing. And you may or may not win over the physical illness. And so that was always important for me to remember that.
Wow, yeah, I was actually gonna ask you what healing is to you. And so there it is. I love that. Peace with yourself and peace with the connection to the creator. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Do you have so I know a lot of healers that I work with, they they feel just especially with the heaviness that we've been going through just in our world. So do you have any like tips or tricks with like in with your environment, you know, having that relationship with your environment and energies in your environment, or you know when you go out and there's a bunch of people, and just you know how to keep that clear channel and keep your energy pure? Is that something you need to focus on, or how do you work with that?
Hell yeah. 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 I mean, I can go into any place and I can read everybody from the front of the room to the back of the room. I can tell you the best things about them, how they learn, and I can tell you their biggest hangups, their biggest blocks, their biggest failures. And so if I can do that like that, well, when I walk up and down the street, or if I go, I like dancing, and so if I go to a nightclub, there's some clubs I won't go to anymore. If there's just too much drinking and drugging, I just don't go in because, it just takes me forever. I need to go home. I need to shower. I need to swim. I need to get it off of me, because I'm that empathic. And right now with all this COVID stuff, the world's really in a clusterfuck. I mean, it really is. And what's happening is there's no baseline. There's no baseline. We used to be able to believe or think that we could trust the government. We used to believe or think that we could trust the doctors. And we used to believe or think that nobody was going to do anything on purpose to harm us. There's none of that anymore. Nobody knows who to trust anybody. They don't know if they can trust the government. They certainly don't know if they can trust the doctors. And there's all this, fighting back and forth. And then, the contested election on top of it, there's all that kind of stuff. And so as an empath, okay, I can tell if you're bullshitting me. I can tell if you're lying. But the worst is you probably know this, is when you're hanging out with somebody and they're really conflicted. They're really conflicted. I want to do good, but it's like, I want to get laid too, or I want to do good now, but I want to get high too, or whatever, where people go out there and there's that confliction. Well, that confliction is, you sit there and you look at the person and there's that kind of back and forth. Are they good or are they bad? And it's just like, yes, they're both. And so I can feel a lot, and I've really had to train myself to, I don't watch the regular TV anymore at all. But I can sit outside and I've sat outside for 3 days. And I was doing some prayer ties and I was outside for 3 days. I could tell you when the news came on. Because I could feel the energy change in the apartment complex, I could feel that. The other day I was sitting there and my head was so far up my ass. I was like, what the fuck, what's going on? And I'm sitting there like, oh, and I was feeling all the angst. Well, what it was the first of the month. Everybody's sitting there. How am I going to pay for my car? How am I going to pay for my health insurance? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my mortgage? And I could feel all that angst. And I looked back on it because I kept a little journal and it's like, oh, wow. So the 1st and the 15th around those times are heavier. And so there's a variety of things. One is really just simply asking for God for protection. And then the other, what I do is, it's really powerful. I start, pointing the fingers at me, coming all the way down through the midline. And then when I get past the root chakra, then I push my hand out. But when I'm doing this, I comment, it's like, all that which is mine is mine. And then when I get to the root chakra, I'll push away, all that which is yours is yours. So all that which is mine is mine. All that which is yours is yours. And my mentor would teach this to a woman's shelter. So the women that were running from their ex-husbands, their abusive boyfriends, that kind of stuff, he would teach them this. And it's like, all that which is mine is mine. All that which is yours is yours. And if you do this to somebody that's all messed up, if they're all crazed or whatever, or if they're lying, you simply, all that which is mine is mine. And then that's a time that I'll point it at their solar plexus. And I'll just kind of scratch my head or something like that. And I'll just kind of, do it so they won't obviously know that I'm doing that. And if they're lying, they won't be able to finish their sentence. They'll be like, what's going on, and it's so fun to do. When people are sitting there, and I just, all that which is mine, all that which is yours. And if I feel threatened, I'll do this. And then I'll slam it into their solar plexus, and I won't touch them. I'll be 15, 20 feet away, and I'll just send that energy. And I've used it as self-defense. It's really, really powerful. That one is tremendous. It'll give everybody else their energy back, and it'll keep your energy. And then the other is, simply standing with erect, good posture, and tilt your chin a little bit, and then do a Kegel and a glute squeeze at the same time. And when you do the Kegel, or, and Kegel's where you squeeze to stop the urine flow for either a guy or a girl. In some places they call it a Kegel, some places they call it a Kegel. I'm from Minnesota, and so it had to be a keg, with all the Germans and the Irish up there. Down here in Florida, it's a Kegel. And when you do the Kegel and the glute squeeze in Kundalini yoga, they call it the root lock. And what it does, when you do it, it's like putting a stopper in the tub, and then all the energy rises. And I've taught that to athletes when I've been hired to work with athletes, and every single athlete can, if once they do this, can outperform what they just did to win cash. Every one of them. So it's an amazingly powerful tool to be able to bring that energy and keep it inside yourself. And then the other is, what the heck makes you happy? What makes you happy? And right now it's something where I tell people, it's like, okay, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you to do this. And I know I'm telling the government to, go to blazes. But I'm like, hug people. If you feel safe, hug people. They've done test after test, and they've shown, even in neonatal intensive care units, they used to not let the parents hold the sick child, or the preemie. Well, now they found that if the parents hold the preemie, that the oxygen content gets better, the pain level goes down, the baby breathes better. And that's a baby. That's somebody that's not thinking about, oh, it's nice to be held. It's just a natural thing. And so if you feel it's safe, hug people. And I'm hugging, I wear a mask when my daughter asks me to wear a mask. Otherwise, I don't, because I was immune compromised for over 3.5 years. I had to defend my immune system. It was my life. If I got sick, it was because I was exposed to different chemicals and everything like that. I was the only one that could do that. They put me on oxygen because the masks weren't good. So, they had me have the oxygen on high to have more pure air than the contaminated air. So I know this, I've studied it, and, there's oodles of, there's a thing on Facebook right now that's like, there's 12 studies that talk about the fact that they question the validity of masks in surgical theaters in this. So they've actually done tests on it. And they found that it's really 6 of one, half a dozen of other, and where it fails is towards wearing the mask. They've actually found that there's less infection when you don't wear the mask. And that's with people that know how to wear it, know how to not rub their face, rub their noses, that kind of thing. But we have to be able to do what brings us joy, seriously. And in all my literature and everything like that, on my websites and on my cards, you know, I have my arms up in the air. And it's for two things. One is my daughter, yeah, exactly. My daughter did not know me healthy until she was 5.5 years old. And after that second session that I had, I started to go without oxygen. And when we would go into a store, we'd go into the library and I didn't need to put on the oxygen, she would shoot up her arms, Daddy, Daddy, no oxygen, you know? And so that's part of it, that kind of celebration. But it's also, if we can't go and just say, wow, I had a fantastic day, you know, I had a fantastic, time with my significant other. If we can't do that, why are we here? You know, it's my belief that we're supposed to, my whole thing is profound power. We're all sent here to be profound. We're not supposed to be average. We don't have to be like Tony Robbins or Wayne Dyer or Oprah. We don't have to be like that, but we have to be the magnificent me. We have to be that wonderful me, you know? And that's what I try and do with the healing and the coaching, is get everybody connected to the absolute magnificent things about themselves, the most profound things about themselves. Because when we live in that, we're much healthier, much, much, much healthier. So if you're not having fun, go out and have fun. You know, I mean, if we're not smiling, it's proven. When we smile, that helps our body. When we laugh, that helps our body, you know? So.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been studying Dean Graziosi's book, Millionaire Success Habits. Um, and he talks about the 90-90-10. So 10%, like 10% of what we're not good at, we have been programmed to focus on what we're not good at, which therefore subconsciously is emphasizing the fact that we're not where we want to be, and we're not good enough. Essentially, we're reinforcing that. Not that you shouldn't by any means focus on what your weakness is, but making it your priority focus, and that's like where you spend most of your time instead of the 90% that you are good at. And we do have so many things that we come so naturally to us that we don't even realize. This is something I talk to my healers a lot, is that, we don't even realize what our gifts are. A lot of the times they're just so natural until someone points them out, like, that's really profound, like, that's not that the way that you got through that. Not everyone can do that. Like, you can go and share that. There's something magnificent and beautiful with the way that we
The third most recommended book that I use in my practice is called Strength Finder 2.0. Strength Finder 2.0. And what it does is exactly what you said in those last few sentences, is what are your strengths? And so it's, you got to buy the book brand new. You can't use it used. You got to buy it brand new. And in the back, there's a little code. You put it into your search bar, and it'll give you a test. It's a 35-minute test, and you simply answer the questions. And at the end of it, it'll spit out your 5 best strengths. And it's the same thing. It's like, you wouldn't have tried to get Michael Jordan to be, or LeBron James. You wouldn't try and get him to be Yo-Yo Ma, or you wouldn't get Yo-Yo Ma to try and be a basketball player. They have different strengths. And so the same thing in our business world, in our relationship world. Find out what your strengths are. Find out what your coworkers are, or your families are. You do your best strength. Let them do their best strength. Watch to see what the heck happens. It's cool. It's really cool. And and like you said, that 10%, we concentrate on the fact that I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. Well, when we can find out, hey, I really am good at this, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at this, when we do that, it's so much easier. Otherwise, you sit there and it's like, oh God, I'm a fuck up, yeah. So yeah, it's cool. I'm glad you brought that up. That's really important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It so is just, in our education system, and just like you focusing, well, you're not good at calculus, do more calculus. You're not good at math, or you're not good at history, study more history, yeah, so it's just, we've been trained that way. And so to focus on your primary focus to be on your strengths, and it'll just fizzle out into everything else. Then like the confidence that you gain from everything else, just overall you're going to have an elevated sense of
Right.
confidence. So um yeah, wow, this has been so much fun.
Right.
So Joe, do you have anything that comes to you that you'd like to share for in regards to healing, um, for the healers, just anything else that you feel like is important that is coming to you right now, or just anything?
It's really coming to being at peace with you, because maybe you really do know what you need to know. Um, maybe what you really feel is what you need to feel, and especially with all this stuff going on, being able to trust yourself and being able to acknowledge yourself. If you want to wear the mask and you feel like it, then wear it, and wear it happily. If you're sitting there and you don't want to do it and everything like that, well, then if you can, take it off. But do what you need to do and trust what you need to trust. And, because I was talking with this, client earlier, and she's got an immune system issue, and her family's so worried about hugging her. They're so worried. And I'm like, you don't know if you're going to live till tomorrow. Wouldn't it have been kind of nice to be able to have your grandchild sit on your lap? You know, wouldn't it have been kind of nice to be able to give your daughter a kiss on the cheek? Um, and so, yes, I mean, trust. Oh, okay, cool. This is going to bring us over a little bit, but this is so damn important. This is so important. So everybody's, how do I know my intuition? How do I know my intuition? Okay, there's one, okay, so there's one way that when you do this, and if you practice this, you're going to know your intuition like that, but you've got to be willing to practice it. And what I do is I tell all my students, think about 3 things that whenever you think about them, they always make you feel fantastic. Okay. And so one of my clients, she was thinking, it's like, oh, I caught a sailfish off the, Port of Vallarta. I said, well, that's kind of cool. But I said, there's something bad about that. Well, yeah, I caught the sailfish, and, 2 days later, my boyfriend and I broke up, and we sat in different places on the way home, and, we ended the relationship. I said, okay, that doesn't count. It's got to be something that when you think about it, you always feel good. Always. And so I think about when I held my firstborn, the first, time, that miracle, holding her. I think about that. I think about a particular scuba trip. It was fantastic. I was with a buddy of mine. It was just one of the coolest scuba trips ever did. And I think about that. And then I think about swimming up in a lake in the Swiss Alps. I think about that. And whenever I think about those 3 things, I feel fantastic. They all give me different vibes. And so if you can think of 3 things that all the time make you feel great, then what you do is just like, okay, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about that. It's like, okay, I'm going to go on I guess I'm not going to go on a date with her, because if it doesn't keep that vibe, then don't do it. And so I had it. I was going out to dinner, and there was this restaurant, and I loved the meal. And when I would go there, I'd always get that one meal because the chef, was just fantastic. And I'm gonna do it. And I've been talking about it for like a week and a half with the woman that I was dating. And I go in there and like, don't order it. She goes, yeah, no, you've been talking about it. I says, don't order it. And I says, trust me, don't. And she goes, you've been talking about it. I says, don't order it. She ordered it. She got food poisoning. I didn't, because I trusted my intuition, and and it ended up being, a bad sauce. There was something wrong with that sauce. They ended up recalling it. So if you think about those 3 things and you feel them, and you really feel them, you got to feel them, think about them for a while. And it's just like, okay, I'm sitting there and, feel it. And then you think about, okay, I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to walk down the streets and I'm going to not going to wear a mask. Like, okay, if I still feel that really solid, that really fantastic, that really terrific, then follow my intuition. But I've gone, and it's just like, I've gone to events with my daughter, and she's like, she goes, Dad, what's up? You're wearing a mask. And I'm just like, yeah, I just kind of feel like I should wear a mask today. She goes, okay, I'm putting mine on too. And so we put a mask on. I don't know why. Maybe it was to not get shit from people. Maybe it was to protect ourselves, and so that's one way. If you think about those 3 things, and you feel them within your body, you feel them within yourself. And then you think, okay, I'm going to go on this date. I guess I'm not, yeah, I'm going to take this job. Yeah. I'm going to take this job, and because I've had it, I travel around the country, back in the day, and I'm going to do it again this year. People will say, hey, come out to Oregon and I want you to work, with my friends, and there's going to be 21 of us there. And I'm just like, okay, this feels really, really good. And it was interesting because I did this once and I'm like, I'm going, I booked the hotel, I got the car, I was going to make it a longer trip. I went up into the Puget Sound and I get there and there's 3 people. I'm like, okay, the car, the hotel, the 2 weeks, the vacation, 3 people is not going to pay for any of this. I was like, what the, but I went and I gave a presentation, like I was giving a presentation to, 200 people. And what ended up happening is I ended up getting a half a week's worth of work right then, which was fantastic. That paid for everything. And then I went up into the Puget Sound and I came back. And as I was coming back, it's like, Joe, we have enough work for 6 days. Are you cool with that? It's like, oh yeah, twist my arm, And so I went out there and 3 people, but by the end of it, I had, a week and a half's worth of fantastic work. And to this day, I'm getting new clients all the time from that. And it was something I trusted my intuition. And when I got out there and there was 3 people, I'm like, you know what, for some reason I was supposed to come here. For some reason I was supposed to do this. So hit it out of the park, do my best. And so I did, and it was fantastic, so it's hard sometimes when life gives us difficult things, but so we get to trust.
Right. Wow. Oh, I love this so much. And just what I was picking up from that story is just that, just showing up and of course following your intuition and serving, and taking the opportunities as if like they are gold, no matter how big or small, right? And it always ends up just being incredible for everyone involved. So I love your pain to purpose journey, how you went from, someone that like was being told like you don't have much time left, to now helping people that are receiving similar information, I will call it, and helping and giving them not just hope, but helping them become the best version of themselves. So just for everyone listening, no matter where you are on your journey and what you're going through right now, just know there's always more for you, and just committing to source whatever that is for you, committing to being the best version of yourself. And sometimes that shifts from day to day. Listen to your intuition, listen to your energy, and there is absolutely more for you. So thank you so much, Joe. Where can people find you if they're trying to find you?
Email is profoundpowerjoy@gmail, and the website is profoundpower.net, and phone number is 651-755-6027. So, and I always give people a free 20-minute consultation because they want to be able to talk with me, get comfortable with me, and then see if they do want to work with me. So always offering that complimentary consultation, and then we can always go on to book the healing session or the coaching session. So.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.